Okay, well here's an update on the Ovation project. I did quite a lot of work in the last couple of days, and I didn't videotape it all because it was just slowing me down too much. So, and also you might be able to hear I've got a lot of congestion going on, and something just as a heads up out there. Um, I've developed a sensitivity now to super glue fumes. Apparently, it doesn't bother me getting it on my skin, but if I breathe it, I suffer for sometimes a week with this sinus condition that you hear, and it's happened several times now. I've narrowed it down. I know it's from working with the super glue. So when I started putting the frets in, I got up to about 8 or 10 or so before I quit, and it wasn't 2 hours later that the symptoms started coming on. So I went with wood glue the rest of the way. So as you can see, the binding is on. There's still repair touch-up to do on the neck, but the binding is on. It's scraped down. It's not totally cleaned yet, and that wasn't too much of an issue putting that on there. The frets are in. I ordered Jess Car frets from Philadelphia Lutherie. I think I talked about that. Anyway, they always do a nice job. Get the stuff here on time, and it's in good shape. And the frets went in. Well, we'll see. I've got to level and crown and dress them yet. I've done the ends, so the ends are cut flush. And rather than going with a straight bevel, I experimented this time with using my, wherever it is, my crowning file, and I came over and did a lot of that end dressing with a crowning file, and then came back with a small smooth edge file to round it over. But they feel really nice. I think they'll do the job, and hopefully later today I'll get around to leveling this thing. Some other things have to happen. First, I may find just a stand-in nut, get my tuners put on here, and get the thing on the body, which is where I'm actually going to do the leveling while it's attached to the body. So, I did a lot of the filling here. You can see glue and stuff that has to be cleaned off from the fretwork. But I did the filling and stained that as best I could, and most of it's, from back here, it looks fine. Feels fine. It's all smooth. So now I've done some work to the heel. Hard to see, but I had to do some filing to get the angle right there. And also, the tongue on this fretboard would have sat well up above the top of the guitar, so I was going to glue another piece on the top. And I'm glad I didn't. I glued it here on the tongue. This is just a piece of spruce that's on there, and I'll either stain or bind. I don't know how I'm going to finish that off. I'll probably just stain it to look like the top, and then that'll sit on there nice. And I'm not going to glue it. I've decided to bolt through right here, like my old one of the tailors that I had that bolted on there in case I want or need to remove it, change the angle, adjust it down the road. I'll have one bolt through here and 2 smaller screws recessed into the top, attached to a cleat under the top of the guitar. So let me show you what's happening with that as far as getting this on the body. Okay, so I just hogged out this whole top part here. I was having a lot of trouble getting the truss rod underneath the top of the guitar because there's very little space, just enough room for the top to slide through there, but then no ability to angle this, and when I put a little pressure on it, then it would just deform the top. So I cut a channel in there so that this will now slide in pretty easily. I also had to cut out a little bit of the rosette, a little bit of the binding to get this in there, and now when it's bolted, that neck will pull down there pretty tight. I'll do some final fitting of it, bolts go through the top, and then the last thing I have to do before that happens is to drill a hole in here so I can access the truss rod from inside of the sound hole there. So that's about it on this right now. I'll come back when there's more to report, hopefully later today. Okay, here you can see I've got the tuners installed. They just barely fit, being that the headstock is a little thicker, I guess, but it was enough to get the threads to catch and get a couple of turns on it, and they're tight, they're screwed in, and I almost covered up all of the old holes there. You can see them peeking out just a little bit. I didn't fill them, but I'll have this all apart again and have another chance to do that. So here's a temporary nut that I found in a box. It's not cut well, but it's about the spacing that I want to end up with up there. And I have a temporary saddle on there. Okay, that's not at all what's going to be in there, but it just gives me something close to get the line, the neck lined up with the bridge. And it lines up really well right where it is. So I feel comfortable, you know, I can make a little bit of adjustment, fine tune it, but it's in the right spot. It's laying nearly flat, and I have the angle, now that I've cut that piece of the top out, and the neck heel, what there is of it, the neck heel can pull fully down to the body. Now my neck angle, this is without the frets being, there's a little bit of a high spot here, right where it's going to be bolted down, but yeah, you can see this comes right over, just over the top of the bridge there. So it gives me a little bit of room. I'll come up slightly higher with that saddle, and how high depends on what strings I'm going to do and how much this is going to pull up under tension with this top all cracked up. You can see some staining around this top here where I put some stain on the bridge. I didn't worry about that because at the time I was planning on taking this all down, repairing these cracks and refinishing it, but the method I would use for this would be super glue, and I'm staying away from that stuff for a little while, so I'll have to come up with another plan, and hopefully one that doesn't include taking this edge piece off of here, which I've looked at a number of these now, and it seems to be a stock item on this guitar. What worries me is, well, it's bonded on there really good. You can see when I had the neck off, it's bonded on there tight all the way around, and that may be, for the most part, what's holding this top on the guitar. There's a little band of, it's not kerfing, there's a little plastic cove piece in there that's probably glued to the top and the sides, but I think this may be doing a lot of that work of holding this whole thing together, keeping the top on the guitar. So I don't want to remove that. So any repair and refinish work I think is going to be done with that in place. So and I'm not really that concerned, as I said, with how it looks, as long as I can get it to function and play the way that I want it to. So I'm happy with the neck angle. I'm happy with the neck alignment. So forging ahead. Okay, show you some progress here. So that happened overnight. Yeah, I decided not to strip this down. This is what I've done is applied stain in alcohol, various tints of stain, patched on there with sponges. and then sanded it back. So it's not completely, it actually has to have a sealer sprayed over it, but that's the look I'm going with. I think it suits this guitar. Alright, I had it darker. I had a really cool look going on. It looked almost like the whole thing was covered in tortoise shell, you know. And but it was just too dark. It really didn't work. I was going to have to change the rosette, so I sanded it back. Anyway, that's what we have for now. The neck is on. I still have to work on this block piece here, and I have the neck screws through here. I don't know if you can see that at the 17th fret. It was going to go, originally I thought to go through this here where there are no markers, but viewing this, and this did have a big hump in it. The center of that hump was here at this fret, so that's where I went through. I glued 2 spruce cleats 1/8 inch thick on either side underneath the top, so I'd have a little something stronger to bolt to, and it seems to have done the job. It's pulled down pretty nice there. Alright, hard to see, I don't know if you can see that at all, but it took some of that curvature out, and I should be able to do the rest. I won't be able to get rid of this fall away here at the end. That's just the way the neck is at this point, but I'll be able to get it playing level up to at least this point here. I've started to level them just rough with the file for now. It's not too bad. The 3rd fret was a little high on the bass side, but the big problem is actually this fret here, 17th fret, which as it turns out isn't seated. That thing rocks like a bugger up there. So by the time I file all that down, it's not going to be in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this fret clean out inside of there, in case there was glue from the binding or something else that may have gotten in here. But it's not seated. I'll just take it out and clean the slot out again and bang a new fret in there. Alright, do the ends. And so I should have this, it's supposed to snow here tomorrow. I should have most of the day, or all of it, to get the fretwork done, and then throw a set of strings on here. It's lined up great. Like I said, I don't know where it went. I'm not going to put the strings back on, but I'm happy, even allowing that this fret is a little high. I'm just above there, so with a level, oh, it's right on there, right on top. So I'll have room. The saddle's going to have to be a little bit higher. You know, not this saddle, the one that I make. So that's being done with a bone blank, so, you know, that takes a good deal of time to get it down to the proper thickness and shape and so forth. And then what's next? Work on the intonation, pop the nut on there, and once I'm satisfied that it's playing real well, then I'll pop the neck back off and finish the finish on the top. And this will be done. So hang around, more to come. I don't know if there's a good angle for seeing what this looks like. It's kind of cool. All the cracks are still in there. Hoping to get that sealed up with the finish on top. So that's a little ways down the road.